We believe that you are strong by design, and you were made in God's image to have a strong body, mind, and spirit. You're listening to the #1 Strength and Health Authority podcast in the world. So let's get ready to unlock your potential and transform your life in today's episode.
Hi, and welcome to the Strong by Design podcast. I'm your host for this episode, Tanya Fines, and joining me today is Eileen. I should have asked you before, is it Durfee?
Yes.
Durfee?
Yeah.
Okay, Eileen Durfee. Welcome to the show, Eileen. So happy to have you here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited because of everything you guys do.
Oh, well, and I'm excited to talk to you. We have had to reschedule this podcast already just because of the way things happened. But spending time looking over your history and your bio and some of the things you've done. And you are a practitioner of nutritional balancing science, which we want to hear about because that's a very impressive title. You're also the woman behind the company Creatrix Solutions, and I have been on the website, and you've got some pretty amazing things happening there, like really cool stuff, all about, from what I can tell, all about really holistic, whole wellness for people, basically from cellular level and up. So really cool stuff happening there. But this is what got me, is you're a former nuclear power plant engineer, inspector, auditor, and real estate developer. So welcome to the show, and how do you go from that to where you are now? Tell us about that.
Oh, I tell people I'm in my fourth life in this life, you know.
Right.
I really think that, you know, we're born to do something in particular, and we do a lot of things in our journey, you know. But, what drove me from one thing to the next is really my underlying health issues. I mean, I was born twisted, and I was in pain my whole life. I had to wear special shoes. One of my legs turned in every time I walk or ran and hit the other leg. And, you know, one leg was shorter than the other. Back then, the doctors just didn't know that it was just, you know, connective tissue and, you know, birth trauma and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And then I grew 9 inches in 3 months.
Oh, ouch. Ouch. So how tall are you?
I'm 6 foot.
Wow. Okay, but that's a lot of stretching of tissue in a very short amount of time. Because I grew, I'm 5'10", which is, for women, is considered tall. I was always the tallest in the school pictures up until about grade 12. And I do remember it was around sort of between the years of grade 3 to 5 going through growth spurts and the pain. I can't imagine, nothing compared to that. I can't imagine the pain involved in that.
Yeah, it was like the summer of the 8th grade, and my mom got to the point where on my jeans, she used safety pins, you know, to let out. And then I was walking in a parking lot, and I got ran over by a car, flown up on their hood.
Oh my gosh.
And it literally, my thoracic area, I already had poor posture and pain, you know, with the hunched over shoulders because of the lack of the curvature in my spine. You know, gravity just tightens those muscles and, you know, you get that pain. But I mean, every breath. And there was like a 93-year-old chiropractor in town that I went to, and he said, "Oh, you need to go to see Dr. Sugar." And so he was really into physical exercises because, I went to a neurologist, I went to all these therapies, and they said I'd just never be able to lift my arms, you know.
All the specialists.
Yeah, all the specialists. And so Dr. Sugar's theories date back to some things that Leonardo da Vinci wrote about, Borelli in the 1680s, then Burl Pettibon. It's like spinal biomechanics. And so he started off with exercises, and I got regular chiropractic adjustments. And, you know, I got to the point where, you know, I could breathe without pain. And then in the 70s, late 70s, he started working, because he used to work with cranes and be a pipe fitter before he became a chiropractor. And, you know, so he was fascinated with physics and lever arms.
An engineer's brain.
Yeah. And so, he was trying to figure out how to induce the curvature back into a spine. Because a lot of people don't realize that, there is one position of the spine with this big S-shaped curve that allows you to be in gravity with the least amount of energy expenditure for your muscles. It's like if everybody would stand up right now and act like you're standing erect and then feel your hamstrings. 90% of the listeners will have tight hamstrings.
Right.
That means you don't have ideal curvature. It's like a bent crankshaft in a motor. I mean, how long is that going to last? So he came up with some movements and exercises that can induce that curvature. Because when you have lack of curvature, the sheer forces that gravity, exerts against your body, the direction changes. When you have good posture, the sheer forces go bone on bone, the facet to the facet, which is strong. That's like a vice. Like that won't dislocate your bone. But if you have loss of curvature, it changes. So then the forces go against the ligaments, then the multifidus and the interspinalis muscles, which those fatigue. Yeah. And then you have the herniated discs, you have the subluxations, you have the injuries. And so he basically came up with these exercises, and he started working with the Olympic Training Center in Colorado. And then he got in with the New England Patriots. And he came up with some equipment called the power cushion and these 3 exercises that you can do. He sent the mathematics off to Cornell University. He actually developed continuing education credits that were approved by the state of Washington for trainers, doctors, physical therapists to take. And some of his mathematical points, he's the only one that's been able to mathematically prove the compression and the shear forces on every joint in the spine. And so he's literally proved his theories about certain exercises, that will actually make your joint weaker or damage ligaments. And so he went through all of this. And so with him, I actually bought his first prototype machine. It was one of those with an electric motor. So you had this fulcrum that you laid over and you did a sit-up. Now, you haven't done a sit-up until you've done a sit-up on the power cushion. I mean, oh my gosh. And same thing with the pelvic tilt and then the neck flexion. And doing those regularly, he proved that like within an 8 to 12 week period, even if you didn't have the curvature, I mean, if you look at all the Olympic athletes, they got those big S curves. They run with ease. They got the flexibility in their hamstrings. They're just naturally athletic because your body's got this pecking order for priority that, like, the hamstrings are really for locomotion. They're for running. Yeah. But first priority is if you don't have good posture, they're tight. Yeah. Like 983 pounds. He did the mathematical calculations. Right. If your upper body, your torso of 100 pounds is 2 inches forward at the waist and 2 inches on the head, how many people are techs, got the techs necking? Yes. You look at most people, they have at least that. Then that hamstring is efforting 983 pounds. So that effort isn't free for your jumping, for your flexibility, for your running and speed. Right. See, and so, spinal biomechanics and, athletic ability or just not having pain, is huge. And so, scientifically, we need to rewrite textbooks. We need to have children doing different exercises because it takes 18 years. When a baby's born, they're in a C shape. Right. But when you look at the 90-year-old, they're in a C shape. But in between there, we want to get this curvature so it's not pinching our nerves. I mean, that's our life force. That's like, how our cells and our organs are impacting. We got to have the strength. He proved mathematically that you can have a 15-to-1 mechanical advantage by having that shape of the spine. Mm-hmm. So you ask any physical therapist, I was talking with a physical therapist locally, they go, we have nothing that we can put underneath somebody posteriorly and then put some anterior force on top of them, and then to have them have muscular co-contractions to induce curvature. And that's what this equipment does, the full line. There'll be 40 pieces of equipment. But so it's my passion because I suffered so much. But see, with his machines, even when I was 7 months pregnant, I had this machine and I was doing the exercises in my house. And I had rental units. And so, I was pushing wheelbarrows and bending over finishing concrete at 7 months pregnant. The day before I gave birth to my daughter, I was on the backhoe doing everything. But it's like I had that. It's like, it's unfortunate because people are out there, they've either had back pain or know somebody who has had back pain. Or they have some kind of limitations athletically that they're trying to work around or get over that hump. And, it's like everybody is refusing to floss and brush their teeth because, eating candy, going to bed, what's going to happen? Dr. Sugar always used to say you brush and floss the teeth you want to keep. So if you want to get or maintain the spinal curvature, you have to do your pelvic tilt, the power cushion sit-up, and the neck flexion. And you have to do it to reverse the gravitational forces. And he was particularly interested in contact football. Oh, okay. As far as tackling and how to extend the spine and how it can go into strengthening mode and, all that kind of stuff. But he worked with the New England Patriots. And he developed this evaluation system. Mm-hmm. They used to have him, when he was alive, tell him who was going to be a good player. Because it's not just athletic ability as far as natural talent, because that person can be prone to injuries.
Right.
They could still not have the mechanical advantage. So he could tell him, hey, you got problems. This person's going to be injury prone, even though they're doing all this kind of thing. Yeah. So I have the PDF evaluation guide, so you can tell where somebody's at. But bottom line, we have the system, and it needs to be known as spinal fitness, not just yoga, not Pilates, not bodybuilding. It needs to be known as spinal fitness. It needs to be a whole new movement that people, even if they don't get through the 18 years, the curvature, the density of the bones, the ossification, everything, that they can get it through doing, these principles. And then to start avoiding, certain exercises that damage or reduce the curvature, because he used to really be big into body muscle overload training, doesn't make the joint stronger. And you can't change the muscle attachment points. And so if the bone is out or not in the right shape, and that muscle is tensed, it's not going to be as strong, and then that can actually worsen the structure of the individual. Right. So with the New England Patriots, for instance, he had him stop doing certain exercises, focus more on other exercises. And, they excelled. And if you look historically, they didn't spend a lot of money on some of their really good players because Dr. Sugar would say, oh, he's going to be really good. Or this guy, you got to train him this way so you can protect his talent and enhance his athletic ability. So then trainers went from there to Marcus Paul, who unfortunately fell dead before last Thanksgiving. But he used the power cushion, knew about it with the New York Giants. And then people went, Mike, I think it's Wojska, went to the Dallas Cowboys. and they bought power cushions. And so there's a few of them that know, but they were so protective of the thing. It's like having the first marathon runner that had the best tennis shoes. He wanted everybody else not to have tennis shoes, right? And so it just like, Dr. Sherga was a crazy mad scientist. He never really manufactured and sold this equipment in large amounts, just to a few, teams. I think the Jets had some power cushions, so very few teams. And so one of his prototypes that he never shared with anybody was for doing the neck flexion. And so that's the product that I came out with first. It's called the Neck Shaper. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty awesome. I don't know if you're sharing video or not, but it's a simple thing. And there's a certain way to do it that will restore neck curvature, and you can put barbell weights on there with the neck roll and lay on a bench. And I have the expensive weight stack machine. There's only 2 others in existence. One of them is in the New England Patriots training facility. One's in my office right over there, and then one's in a clinic in Hawaii. But it's like I'm always, it's like I have these dreams and I see solutions. I'm a gizmo woman. Yeah. And so it's like not everybody can afford that probably $8,000 to $10,000 machine with Thompson rods and pillow block bushings and all this kind of stuff. And so this takes the place of the neck piece attachment. Mm-hmm. And then there's another product I'm coming out with that has a universal joint that just clamps on ordinary barbells, because everybody has barbells. So there'll be one for the chest, one for the hips. They'll have the power cushion. And then one of the other things that Dr. Sugar said is that, you have to have a passive maintenance for your spine. So as we age, our discs in between our spine, normally is like a sponge state. Right. There's a special twist that you can do that causes it to liquefy. Then there's these special rolls with grooves in them. Now the plexus roll is almost got it, but they crunch the spinous. You can't crunch the spinous. You have to have the spinous float and then catch the transverse process, and you have to have enough cushion so that it's like a train on a train track. It like realigns your spine while you're using it. And so there's this twist and everything that you lay down. And, everybody's different. So I've come up with 5 different diameters for the neck, 5 different for the low back, and 3 different densities. Because if you're really injured, you need a soft cushion. If you're an ordinary person, you need a medium. If you're an athlete, you need hard. And then you can lay down over those after doing the twist for 20 minutes. And it's weird because you'll be laying there and you'll feel your bones shifting. Because gravity's no longer holding that muscle memory and all that. And you've just pumped all that blood in there and liquefied those discs. And then after 20 minutes, then the discs go back to the sponge state and you get up, and it like encourages better curvature. And, it's just like me, I mean, I've been rolling towels, so I have the instructions. Like right now, they're manufacturing, the samples are being sent. I'll have them next week for the 30 cushions in the different densities. So I'll have those hopefully before the end of the year. And then I'm working with another company on the power cushion. So it takes time to prototype, develop, manufacture these things. But spinal fitness, I tell you what, people don't realize how much energy the body spends to hold your body erect.
Right, and how that includes from sitting, correct? Like,
oh yeah, sitting.
We don't because we're kind of in an era where with technology, we probably, I know, like even myself, I've been involved in fitness my whole life, and I sit more now than I ever have, and I know that that's detrimental to my spine and my spinal health.
Put your spine back into perfect alignment so that you can eliminate back pain, have more energy, and sleep better. Unlock your spine in 10 minutes without invasive surgery, addictive Band-Aid medications, and time-consuming appointments. Visit unlockyourspine.com to start bringing your spine back to its natural, proper alignment for optimal spinal health. That's unlockyourspine.com.
And another thing is 80% of people are dehydrated or they're drinking the wrong kind of water.
Right.
And, the body has this hierarchy for delivering water to the most important place. Like, it'll protect your brain and your bone marrow over your joint cartilage and over your spinal discs. So a lot of pain with people is they're dehydrated. And also, when you're drinking the right kind of water and you're doing these spinal exercises, it actually pumps the fluid and rehydrates the discs. And so that's a huge, huge factor of how I teach people about, hydration, and pain and those kinds of things. But yeah, so spinal fitness is my main thing. I just love it. I mean, I can look at people now and I could just tell them how they feel and whether they can jump and I have people come in here like, athletes or whatever, and I do the whole thing. I go, can I touch your hamstrings? Stand up straight. How it's tight. Yeah. And I take them through one set. Because the first time arching over the power cushion, most guys are not flexible. Most people are not flexible. They can't do it, or they just do it and we do it, and I just say, we're going to stop, when it before it hurts, So they maybe do 15. That's all they can do. Maybe they can do 100 sit-ups, but on this, for flexibility, maybe they can only do 15,
Right.
And same thing, and I do the pelvic tilt on them. I do the neck flexion. We have them stand up, and their hamstrings are totally loose. I had them bend over and show me how far they could reach. They gained 6 inches in reach in one session. They're like going, I'm not even trying to stand up straight, and I feel lighter.
Yeah.
Well, it's like gravity, in the shape of the spine. And so there was this kid that came in with his father, and he had fallen off a trampoline, and he'd been through all of the physical therapy, everything, and this kid was having seizures, and no doctors could help him. So I had these ugly duckling prototype, neck rolls. I'm looking to see if I have any others around here, or they're in the other office, but so I gave him to him, showed him how to use it, and his dad came back a month later and said, Eileen, that kid carries him around with his backpack. He does it every single day, and he's never had a seizure since.
Wow.
And now this has been a year, and the kid's fine. It was because of the spine.
Fine.
Pinching nerves and, that kind of thing. It's the shape. So, but I, use the spinal fitness, to maintain my health. Like, I'm going to be 60 years old, and you take an x-ray of my body. I don't have a bunch of wore-off spots on my bones. I haven't shrank 1 inch. I mean, I've had regular chiropractic care. I do massage, I do exercise, I have good nutrition. I take care of myself.
Right.
But at one point, I was really toxic. My system was overloaded. I was allergic to everything. I had psoriasis all over my body. My hair was falling. I couldn't remember anything. I just, you name it, I had it wrong with me. Chronic fatigue and, arthritis and pain in my joints, and just was a mess. And I gave up on normal medications.
Right.
And because I just had this underlying belief that, if my body just had what it needed, that it could heal itself, And I look at all these people, all the nutrition, and it's a tragedy with Marcus Paul. Here he is, the coach.
Yeah.
On the Dallas Cowboys, teaching them health and nutrition. If I had a hair analysis on him, I supposedly just epitome of health. But what happens is these guys that are into bodybuilding and everything else, they take all these products that enhances their physical performance, but what it's doing is it's jacking their adrenal glands to produce aldosterone, the hormones. So that raises electrolyte sodium levels. And if you do that long enough, that adrenaline rush will cause the body to squeeze the blood vessels more, which then spikes more adrenaline, and it gets like a dog chasing a tail to the point where then they fall dead with a heart attack. And so, but for me, it was my allergies, my pain, and everything. And I tried everything. I mean, there isn't anything that I wouldn't try holistically. I mean, I did the Bernard Jensen, colonics, and the diet, and this diet, and that diet, and just, I had cupboards full of supplements. I spared no expense. But what I did is I basically went from chasing symptoms with drugs to chasing symptoms with natural supplements. Basically, not knowing how it was impacting everything else.
Right.
And the problem with the wellness revolution is they'll take zinc because zinc is good for this, that, and everything else.
Right.
But zinc lowers sodium and raises potassium. So what happens if you're already too low on sodium?
So there goes your potassium chloride pump. It's out of whack.
Yeah, and so then basically you're going to go into tissue breakdown mode, prone to infections, even cancer. And so people don't realize, like, the farmer does a soil test to figure out what fertilizer to put on there. And if you think about it, the farmer does not put nitrogen on the soil to raise nitrogen in the plant. And that's what we're doing with vitamins. We think, oh, this is good, let's take that. But it doesn't raise that. Nitrogen increases calcium in plant tissues. So you have to look at the law of elements on Earth and to see how all they interact. And that's what a hair analysis is. It's a tissue biopsy. It tells you the circulating effect of really what's going on. Then you can use antagonists and synergists to get you in this zone where your cellular stuff, like the sodium pump, works. Or another thing, the sodium calcium exchanger. Every time we move a muscle, we're releasing elements of calcium. But let's say, 80% of people tested are under active adrenal and thyroid. So that means they're going to have low sodium. So all this calcium then goes in the wrong places. That was one of my problems, into my joints. Now my joint pain is gone. Because it takes 3 elements of sodium to put 1 element of calcium back where it goes, but 99% of our calcium is supposed to be in our bones, teeth, and nerve fibers. So that's just one example. But the other thing is because I'd done a lot of detox, chelation, things like that, and I didn't realize at the time that, until you fix the reason why your body adapts. Like, your body's so smart, man. It's like if it can't get calcium where it needs to go, it'll use lead. But is lead healthy for us? Heck no. But it won't let go of lead, or if you chelate it out, it'll collect more of it because it took good minerals too. And so that's why a lot of people that are in this chelation mode, constantly chelating and all that, they just feel initially good, then terrible again, and they get further down this rabbit hole. And so in this nutritional balancing science, you do a hair analysis like every 3 months. Sometimes I do it monthly because I've been on it for so many years. My body changes so fast that I can feel like something's off, and maybe I'm taking 6 tablets of something and now I only need 4 a day. And believe it or not, within 2 or 3 days, it's like that I'm feeling fantastic again. Just the littlest things. I mean, I became horrified with all the supplements I took to medicate, to sleep, all that extra calcium, magnesium, but that's what caused my joint pain. And people aren't connecting all that. And so when I started with the nutritional balancing science, then your body would just freely give up. And, the Herxheimer reactions and the detox, you're like, oh my gosh. So then, getting into coffee enemas and near-infrared saunas and all this stuff so you can detox and be superwoman, and live through it, and then, of course, so it's like you said, it's holistic, it's everything. It's like, what are you putting on your skin? Because that goes in your bloodstream. What are you breathing? What are you drinking? So everything I'm about has just evolved. From my illness. It was a hobby. Because from nuclear power plant, construction and all that experience, went to real estate development, I ran a construction cruise, built 12 houses a year, designed them in AutoCAD. Then I started managing nonprofit corporations. And so then, when I made a shift and a move and the family gave me this facility just to bribe me to come back, free rent, move your business here, then I started doing things health-wise and went back to school and got that. But I also got into Rife machines and things from Tesla. I have my own hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I just...
You got it all.
I just, I've been my own guinea pig, but I've, figured it out. And, so it's, you have to... There is no silver bullet, because our food supply is so deplete of the minerals that we need. And so, it's just like now I'm having fun. It's like my fourth life in this life. I'm doing what I'm really supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Our team would like to thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. And if you're enjoying today's show, please share this episode with at least one friend or family member who will benefit from this message. And please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Go to strongbydesignpodcast.com. That's strongbydesignpodcast.com. Let's get back to the show.
So do you actually, do you see clients in an office, or do you see clients online, or do you do both?
I probably have less than 1% local clients.
Okay.
Everything is online. I ship to 91 countries in the world.
Wow.
And so I have clients. I actually have a lot of doctors that are my clients because, they're not trained in this. And, you can tweak and, train people. But yeah, it's like a lot of my products, I would use something and it just wasn't good enough, or it wasn't non-toxic enough, or it's like, everybody buys a gizmo. How many of them are on the shelf or in the garage or cupboard that you don't use?
Yeah.
So my big thing is making something super easy to use that you can incorporate in your life that, it pays back. It's like you can feel a difference. So, I give people the 2-week coffee enema challenge and say, hey, I'm never going to ask you to do that again. And I go over the science. We could talk an hour just on coffee enemas, what it does. But now I have a new stand-up one with the pump that you can get in the shower. So nobody has an excuse. It's not hard to do.
Right.
And then people can get, the benefits from it. And so that's where I'm at, is I'm an encourager, figuring out where somebody's at. And, a lot of people really try to go gung-ho on some of this stuff. And I've found that with a lot of people's elimination pathways are not open very much. So, to get that going, so we start slower and, people go, well, how do you do all that stuff? Well, I started with one thing, and then it made me feel good. So then I was inspired to do something else, and then it's just like a way of life. And now it's like I'm reversing my biological aging. I feel better now than I did when I was in my 20s. I'm serious. To have no pain, have energy, sleep well.
Right. So that's my question, because I can sort of hear the thoughts of listeners that are going to be listening to the show and thinking, okay, I want all of that. I'm getting older, and myself listening, I'm like, for my age, I know that I'm in good shape. I take care of myself. I exercise regularly. I eat well, but things are starting to be like, I'm not. You were talking about hair falling out, that not good sleep. I've got arthritis in this finger, and as small and simple as it is, with all the amount of content I have to do, it throbs 24/7, never stops. So little things that start to pile up, it's like, well, what I used to do isn't working. Things have changed. So, and just like, I can hear people listening going, okay, I want to feel this good. I can't do all, and like people don't want to try to do all of it. A, it's very expensive. It's unrealistic for the average person, because I do believe that most of us want to feel good, but we want to do it without it being like you go from paycheck, you get to buying all this stuff, and so your house is full of all these wonderful things that are supposed to help you, and then you're just constantly on this this adventure of, well, what works, what doesn't, and it's like you're just kind of down the rabbit hole, like you said, of all this stuff, and nothing's really, nothing, the dots aren't connecting. So for the people listening that are going, I want to feel better, like I'm not really sick, but I really don't feel great. What can they do? Where can they start that's actually reasonable and realistic for them, that they can actually start maintaining and sustaining an increasingly better level of health, and just to keep that momentum going?
Right. Well, as far as the spinal fitness, I have free PDF guides. There's like 6 of them. And there's, you can buy the neck shaper, but you can do it with your hands. So there's a guide on how to do the neck flexion. And then there's a guide on I have one that didn't print, but there's one on how to do the back twist, and there's instructions in there on how to fold normal bath towels, of how to do that.
Okay, and this is like on your website, correct?
Yeah, just go to Spinal Fitness. You can go to spinalfitness.com, and it redirects to the right page on my website, and you can get all those free guides. So, and there's exercises we recommend and ones to avoid if you're having back pain. And it gives the science of it, but it's really going to help those tight muscles and everything like that. But the other thing is 80% of people are dehydrated or drinking the wrong water, and I believe 80% of all diseases caused by dehydration. There's an excellent book from Dr. Batman Galish. I don't know if I said his name right, but it's Your Body's Many Cries for Water. But basically, I don't recommend reverse osmosis or distilled water, because the surface tension on the water is not conducive or hydrating to the cellular, the sacred geometry in the cells. Okay. So you're not going to get the hydration, you're going to get pure water, but then that water is going to strip minerals from your body. And then people go, but I remineralize. Well, then that's where hair analysis comes in, that a lot of those minerals are not what you need. So I do Mountain Valley water. It gets delivered in 5-gallon jugs. And it's got a nice alkaline pH with a lot of the minerals that the body just loves. So start drinking water. And, if you're going pee and it's yellow, you're dehydrated. And that means your body's gone in survival mode, and so there's cells that are being damaged, prematurely aging, all kinds of stuff causing pain, everything. So get on the right kind of water. I mean, it's more expensive, but it sure is a lot cheaper than going to Starbucks or, other places and buying all these other drinks, And so get on some water. That's huge. Then the next thing is, we have the 21st century disease. We're indoors way too much, so we're not getting the biomodulation from the sunshine, from anything else, and so our circadian rhythm's off. We're not grounding. So simply just start getting up and watching the sun for 15 to 20 minutes in the early morning hours. You don't have to be there at sunrise, but that would be better. But don't start there. Just like if you're up and it's 7 a.m., go outside and sit barefooted with your feet on the ground and be out there for 10, 15 minutes. If they did that in a month, they'd start sleeping better. They would be shocked at how much better they are. And that's just a location change. That's free. That's free. You're probably drinking some kind of water anyway. That's next to free. And then the other thing is if somebody said, Eileen, I'm only going to do one thing for myself, I would say do a coffee enema. And I give people the 2-week challenge, and now it's like a stand-up. You just brew some strong coffee. I use a percolator. I don't like the boil and the strain method. I drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, only one, and then I have my brewed coffee. So then I have the Enema Fix, which solves everything. It's non-toxic, glass, 33-ounce jar that has this pump. So you fill it up with water, and I use spring water, And then I put the strong brewed coffee in there, and then you pump fast to get it primed, and then you can stand up, and I do half of it, and then I take a long shower, and then go sit on the toilet, and then repeat. And quickly, the enemas have been around for 3,000 years, but the scientific portion of it happened when Hitler's army was cut off from supplies. They were operating on soldiers without painkillers or anesthesia, and the doctor always gave them a plain water enema. A nurse got the idea to put coffee in there, and a strange thing happened. It became so famous that their pain went away from a coffee enema that the University of Vienna and other ones started putting coffee water up rats' behinds to figure out what was going on.
Right.
And it increased glutathione production 600%.
Okay. And for those listening that don't know, what's glutathione? Because in the whole age of trying to find the fountain of youth, what's glutathione?
It's an antioxidant, but even the nanoparticles in the vaccine that everybody's taking, glutathione is a protectant against and neutralizing those nanoparticles. So if you're concerned about reactions from the vaccine, oh my gosh, do a coffee enema. Just use it at the other end of your body. It doesn't, other than this $89 kit that makes it easy to use, it's almost literally free. But it also fills your bloodstream with free radical scavengers, turns on enzyme systems. It changes the pH of your intestinal tract so the good bacteria, the gut bacteria, flourish. And so, I've had clients come to get their hair analysis that have a laundry list of problems on medications for depression and allergies and all kinds of stuff. A month later, they come back. The husband was doing coffee enemas. 80% of his problems went away just by doing a coffee enema. And then I said, now take these supplements really slow because your body's going to think it won the lottery and you're going to detox. He goes, I'll just do 2 coffee enemas a day. He's just it's just amazing. And so that doesn't cost very much. And people go, well, that's going to mess up your electrolytes. Well, I was in a car wreck, I had to have knee surgery, and I was, had all the blood work done. And then also for my business, I had to get life insurance for a loan. And it's like every number was absolutely perfect. And the life insurance agent says, we've never issued a policy and the perfect health. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And then when I was at my physical therapist, he had that S3 machine that Dr. Oz had that measures circulating antioxidants.
Right.
Now, Dr. Oz had 75,000, and I guess they use the machine to sell you antioxidants. And if you have 60,000 or more, your chance of cancer is very low. So here I am, just off of anesthesia, pain meds, everything else. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is going to be bad. I put my hand on there and it measured 80,000. And they're going, what antioxidants do you take? I go, nothing. I do daily coffee enemas, near-infrared sauna, both those increase antioxidants in the body. And then I do my supplement minerals for hair analysis. And so, the coffee enema, it's not true that it's going to deplete your minerals, when done correctly, and we send all the instructions on how to do it. And like I do, I give everybody the 2-week coffee enema challenge. I just did another podcast on coffee enemas so they can listen to that. It's the whole time on coffee enemas. But I'm already getting text messages and emails. I took your challenge and I'm feeling fantastic. Now what else should I do?
Right.
But so the coffee enema is big. Okay. So if you're outside, drinking the right kind of water, grounding, doing the coffee enema, you do that for 30 days, you're going to feel like a new person, and then you're going to be enthused. So then I would say, okay, let's see, it's $50 or something on Wellness Shopping Online to get your hair analysis tested. Then it's going to recommend supplements. It recommends diet changes, but I think the most important thing with diet, and you and your listeners will probably agree, is eating, a gram of protein per pound of weight, eating more frequently, all those kinds of things that are going to boost our growth hormone and anti-aging type stuff to support health and exercise, because that's the thing is most of my clients that have problems with weight or health are eating once or twice a day. They're not having enough protein, and they're losing their muscle mass.
Yeah.
So that's more important than, like, I don't avoid all the stuff on the hair analysis that they say to, but I take the supplements.
Right.
And I'm making tremendous progress. So don't feel like you have to do it's like people freak out. They go, oh my gosh, I have to do all that?
Right.
I go, well, you can, but I mean, we're getting fantastic results, trending to do better.
Right.
And to, incorporate certain things. And so that, with the hair analysis, you have to test every 3 months because you'll shift. Because, that sodium pump.
Right.
If it's low, holding metabolic waste in the cell too long, you're going to have tissue breakdown and you're going to have infections. But then when you do the sodium stimulators to raise that and counterbalance it, if you go too high, then you're going to have pain and inflammation. And so it's like you want to be in that sweet spot. And what the body does when it gets in the sweet spot and it has the energy to clean house, it will. And depending on what you got sequestered in your tissues and organs, what have you been exposed to? Did you eat lead paint when you were a kid? Did you, it's like what... Are you copper toxic because you had an IUD, or all these things? Then depending on what releases is either going to speed your metabolism up or slow it down. So then it tweaks what metabolic pack we give you, what glandular you might need, and then the body does this transformation exchange because everybody's like a jalopy. Your body's using duct tape and baling wire. Or it's like a car that needs a new alternator, and instead of replacing it, you're charging the battery or you're jump starting it so you can drive it, but you don't use your headlights, you don't turn on your air conditioning. That's the way our body is functioning. And so as we get rid of those things, that's where the sauna, the near-infrared therapy, because you can sweat out so many toxins, and that's why I developed that. But then your body is going to use the new car part, the OEM car part. Pretty soon you're going to start having things restored. It's like people don't realize that every cell in your body has an enzyme binding site. But to make that enzyme binding site work, it needs the mineral. It's like the thyroid gland has more selenium than any organ in the body. The man's prostate has more zinc. And so you don't want mercury where the selenium should be. You don't want cadmium where the zinc should be. You get enough cells with the wrong element in it, you're going to have dysfunction. And so that's where we're going to fix the reason why your body had to use the junkyard part and supply the right mineral that your body needs at the time. And there's a priority of things that you work with based on hair analysis. It's a whole science.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. To help our show reach more listeners just like you, please let us know how we've changed your life by leaving a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. Go to strongbydesignpodcast.com. That's strongbydesignpodcast.com. Let's get back to the show.
So that process, because if a lot of people are already taking supplements, I had a massage therapist. She couldn't work. She had arthritis, like in your hand, but all of her hands. She couldn't work. And she was going to a holistic doctor at the time who was having her take large amounts of vitamin C. Now, vitamin C is good, but everything needs to be in balance, right?
Right.
Well, her hair analysis came back, and she had a sodium-potassium ratio of like 10 or 12. I mean, if it's above 4, I have joint pain. I can tell in my body what is tweaked on my hair analysis by how my body feels now.
Yeah.
And so, then she said, well, I'm taking this, I'm doing that. I go, well, stop that, because that's causing this ratio to go up, and take these, And so she did, and within 3 months, she didn't have the pain or anything in her hands, and she could go back to work. And it was all because she was taking too much vitamin C in comparison to the other items in her diet. And so sometimes we can be our worst enemy. And so I think, a lot of people are already spending a lot of money on supplements. And there's a lot of stuff that doesn't impact hair analysis, or the metabolism. But then there's certain things that go, well, you're shooting yourself in the foot, right now with this pattern of doing too much of that, so we have to back off. But there's a lot of bodybuilding stuff that's okay. Some of the pre-initiatives, if somebody's a fast oxidizer, they could be putting themselves into falling over dead like Marcus Paul did. And there's just a lot of things there. But if you get on the hair analysis program, you're definitely going to want to do coffee enemas to escort the toxins out as fast as possible. But another thing that's huge is near-infrared sauna therapy with incandescent bulbs. Now, I've done saunas for years and had a far infrared sauna. And I really thought the doctor was prejudiced when he's saying, oh, no, you got to do near infrared with incandescent bulbs, And my son was at the University of Washington at the time learning about phototherapy and all that. And he goes, oh, Mom, it's about ATP. You shine that near-infrared light on there, the mitochondria produces more ATP. It does all this stuff to increase flexibility, reduce pain and inflammation, and all this good stuff. And then, of course, low EMF and, all these things like that. But then the incandescent bulbs, normally in a sauna, it's the same temperature all the way around. But an incandescent bulb, it's giving you actually 550 to 3400. With a peak right at the therapeutic, like the K-laser and all those fancy healing devices. It's delivering most of those kinds of therapeutic frequencies. But it's the blood shunting because it is not the same temperature all over the sauna. So your body shunts the blood towards the lights to vasculate the tissues to have water escape on your skin. It's so weird. Have you ever been in a sauna and only sweat on one side of your body? That will happen when you get in my sauna, and then you wipe it down with a towel, and then you rotate 180 degrees, so it's twice the circulation. Okay. But I had a dream. It's like all this wonderful phototherapy and learning about what it does to the biology of our cells. And I'm like, man, how do we keep that in there? So I got radiant panels in my sauna. So it bounces around and can't leave. So it maximizes your phototherapy. I don't even know what the mathematical multiplier would be at the speed of light for however many minutes you're in there, but it's huge. And then most saunas have like an R2 to an R4 insulation value. Mine has an R12. And so it's the only sauna, because I'm 6 foot, my son is 6'5". So I designed it, I got my utility patent for it, that it's the only sauna in the world that you can stand up, sit down, lay down, and be 6'5", and not have to preheat it. It'll get 120 degrees in 5 minutes.
Wow.
And because it's creating all this ATP at the cellular level, the ambient air temperature is not as high, but you're sweating. And then I came up with another little device to put in there that I saw in a dream, or actually, but maybe a lucid dream. But exercise is sympathetic dominance, and your sweat has more minerals, not as many toxins. You get in a sauna, it's parasympathetic, and they've analyzed sauna sweat, and it's like full of toxins. But yet when we're in a sauna, what does it do? It humidifies, and we rebreathe it. So I came up with the Breeze Safe. We put that in there, and it cleans up the toxic humidified sauna sweat. But it also, the European studies on saunas is like you need to breathe at least 20,000 negative ions per cubic centimeter, and your rectal temperature won't go down initially, and it'll continue to go up after you get out of the sauna, and your sweat volume doubles. So this little device produces 56,000 negative ions. So you can actually be flooded with negative ions in there, not have to rebreathe your toxic humidified sauna sweat. Then I had people, asthmatics, going, Eileen, I'm having an attack and I just breathe over my Breeze Safe and I don't need my inhaler anymore. They bought like 12 of them and they put them on the battery packs. They carry them everywhere. So I sent it off to the lab going, okay, test, what is going on? And we found out that it produces oxygen. It increases background oxygen levels 70 to 118%. So now I have athletes when they're on their tread climber, their whatever favorite aerobic machine, they have a little breathe safe there on the battery pack blowing in their face, and they're breathing the oxygen. Or they're putting it in their hyperbaric oxygen chamber, or they're sleeping with it. People with the watches for the oxygen content. I have a woman that low oxygen, 88%. Even now, more people with COVID, low oxygen, they're having problems breathing.
Right.
She sent me this stuff showing that it went to 93. Whenever she has the breathe safe laid over on the edge, pointed at her face, when she sleeps, her oxygen goes up to 93.
Wow.
And so it's just like one thing has kind of led to another. I just have a lot of dreams, and I'm just kind of like inventor mentality, I guess, to solve problems.
Wow.
And so, I mean, then there's drinking ozonated water. I mean, when there's contaminated aquifers, the EPA drills wells and puts ozonated water in there because it's oxidation. So we're mostly water. So we could drink ozonated water and purify our bodies, but if that's not a miracle enough, what's left? O2, oxygen. And that's another hierarchy. Besides the dehydration, I'm telling, there's a priority where the body starts shutting down things. Same thing with oxygen. And because we're indoors, we're sitting more, and thank goodness you're exercising, so your body's got more oxygen in it than other people. But why do we do all the breath work and the yoga? And we're trying to get more oxygen in our bodies.
Right.
So we can breathe it, we can do those things, but we can also drink it so that pure O2 goes in there, and it's anti-inflammatory and boosts the immune system and all this other good stuff. It's just absolutely amazing. But it's bad to breathe, and of course I got a patent on how to degas that so you don't have that problem. And so, I teach people to drink ozonated water on an empty stomach, and it's just like, there's some people with migraines, they'll take a little bit of ozonated water and their migraine goes away, or that it's like trying to kick the coffee habit or the energy drink habit, and they feel like but without the crash or without anything. And so it really, really helps people. It's amazing when you're low on oxygen, how you might feel.
Right. So like at the end of the day, you're like, I mean, I'm looking, like I have the website pulled up here on my monitor. You've got all kinds of things, like all kinds of things. Basically, your mission is just to help people from a very deep cellular level, from the inside out, to live better, higher quality lives. And you're not stopping anytime soon. You just keep coming up with ways to take kind of what we do know and the science we know about it, and how can you make this something attainable for people to actually bring into their own homes and use to improve their health, and just to continue on this journey of health and wellness for longevity. Like Livy, I always say, I've always said for years, like, just like we're all going to get older. I mean, we age, but it doesn't mean we have to get old and start to fall apart. So I love what it sounds like, you're really, it's not like you're not selling a cure, or you're saying take this one thing and it's going to, but it's just the opportunity to have available all these other ways and means for people to actually start becoming more of a participant in their health. So where because I'm sure people listening are going to be like, where do I find this person? So if you could right now, where, like all of your platforms, your website, any of that, if you could tell us now where, I mean, we're going to put those in the show notes down below, but if you could tell us, where can the people listening find you and reach out to you and contact you?
So if you want to do hair analysis, Wellness Shopping Online is the place to do it. And you can buy it. We'll mail you the kit if you live in the U.S. If you're international, there's a coupon code to take off the shipping, and then we'll email it to you. Now, as far as all the detox products, the best bundles and everything like that are on Creatrix. That's Creatrix as an X-ray Solutions.com. Trying to come up with a name about create that's not taken, that's kind of hard. Yeah. So Creatrix Solutions.com. And then we've got contact forms, as far as social media goes. If I do something, it's always usually on Instagram, for Creatrix Solutions.
And that's the IG handle is at Creatrix Solutions. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect.
And then there's a lot of videos in there and a lot of biohackers using the sauna. Nate Diaz has my sauna in his gym next to his ice tank, and they use it for shadow boxing and everything else. I mean, Luke Rockhold's got one. I mean, a lot of people have the Sauna Fix, and it's just like they don't even use the $15,000 one that's in their house, just because they feel so much better.
Excellent. Well, I can't thank you enough for being on the show, for taking the time out of your busy schedule and your creative, inventive schedule. It seemed to be, your energy is amazing. For considering where you started and where you're at now, like this whole sort of metamorphosis, really.
Yeah.
Who you are and where you are today. So thank you for sharing your knowledge, and thank you for all of that information. I'm sure that our listeners are feeling like, okay, there's some things I want to start doing. There's some things I need to start looking at. Maybe one thing is to start clearing out or sort of sorting out what of all this cupboard of all of these things that I'm taking. Do I really need all of that? So thank you so much, Eileen, for joining me today, and thank you for sharing with us. I'd love to have you back on the show and talk more, because there's so many conversations that can happen from here. So we definitely need more time to talk about all of that. So check the show notes, folks, for those. We're going to put those links there, so how you can reach out to Eileen and her companies and get a hold of her. As you can tell, she certainly knows a lot of things. This thing is going to do this again. I don't know. I shut off my notifications, but for some reason, they still come up on my laptop. I don't know why. I apologize for that. Please you take a moment to give us a 5-star review and leave a comment. Absolutely share this with someone. We love having you on the show. We love talking with all kinds of health professionals and bringing people on here to just continue to share information and knowledge with all of you. Thank you, Eileen. It was a pleasure to have you on, and I can't wait to have you back. Everybody, take care. I'm Tanya Fines. We'll talk soon.
Thank you so much for listening to the Strong by Design podcast. If you found value in today's episode, please subscribe so that more people can find out about our show. Plus, you don't want to miss any future episodes with the amazing guests and topics we have lined up for you.